As we wrap up the holiday season, 2023, it's almost out of here, so we're going to take a look back at everything that's happened in Chivalry 2 during the year 2023. I'm going to run through the different things that were brought to the game, from weapons, to modes, to maps, battle passes, along with the dev teams. How did they communicate with us? How did they run things? Welcome to Chivalry 2, the year 2023 in review. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. 2022, it ended with a big winter update that gave us Thayic Stronghold, a map that just looked visually beautiful with a tremendous attention to detail that also ran extremely poorly and didn't seem to play as well as previous editions like Aberfell or Galencourt. However, it definitely fit the quality and expectations of a Torn Banner map. Look, not everyone's going to love every map, so this is fine. It wasn't a favorite for me. Now, very early in 2023, we got a roadmap from the developers of everything we could expect to see in the game in 2023. And as we go through the video, let's just kind of take mental notes of how many things on the roadmap actually appeared in the game. When Chivalry 2 released, one of the back-of-the-box selling features was crossplay between console and PC. However, when you read the fine print, the developer said cross-play, not cross-party, meaning you can't actually play with your friends from different consoles. The developers received a tremendous amount of backlash for this. It came off as super devious. And no amount of mental gymnastics from Reddit White Knights will ever convince me that consumers should have looked for the difference between crossplay and cross-party. As far as I know, Torn Banner just completely made that term up. It's 2023. Crossplay means that you can play with your friends. We also got the promise of more battle passes, or campaign passes, as the devs like to call them. Personally, I don't see why we just can't call it a battle pass, but I think most of us are just kind of neutral on them as a whole. Next, we were promised multiple new maps for both Team Objective and Free-For-All mode, and I quote, "These new playable maps will include Team Objective maps of impressive scale." Please file this in your brain. I'll probably repeat this quote at some point during the video. The developers also did say Free-For-All maps, as in more than one. On the topic of new stuff, we were also promised multiple new weapons during the year. I think we all look forward to weapon additions tremendously, so this is always a good thing. So now that we know what we're supposed to get, let's take a look at what we actually got. I think the roadmap, it felt very attainable, and it was fair for a year of gaming updates. Now on May 1st, 2023, we got our first update of the new year, and looking back, this was a pretty significant patch. For starters, at patch release, Chivalry 2 went on PlayStation Plus. Torn Banner, they've used these game services just so well to keep a constant influx of players in the game. Honestly, we have the console players to thank for keeping this game's player population so healthy. So hopefully the developers stop treating them like second-rate citizens, give the people what they want. They want custom binds, give console players custom binds. All right, that's my pitch for you guys. Now, the big ticket item in patch 2.8 was crossplay parties, something that it took the developers close to 2 years to implement. Not only was this the most desired feature from the community, but it was also about the developers showing the player base that they can deliver on promised features. Now, the crossplay, it was titled as a beta, and it worked all of the time, some of the time, but regardless of how well it ran, I was finally able to play with community members who I'd been friends with for years, and the feature, it's a huge win for the game. We got a new Team Objective map, the Sacking of Bridgetown, and I was insanely excited for this map. The teaser's about fights in the open fields, of the vineyards, and moving the carnage into the town. I thought it was going to be grand on the Aberfell scale, and I was quickly disappointed. I'll never forget this. The first time I tried Bridgetown, the map, it looked so horrible from a visual standpoint compared to every other map in Chivalry 2. I thought there was something wrong with my game. I literally went into the homie Scotty's stream, and I asked him if there's something like bugged with the textures, because it appears my game has none, and it's super desaturated, and he's just like, no, that's the game, bro. The map still looks trash to me, and I could forgive that, but it doesn't play well either. The big fields we were promised, it's literally just a sprint past some bushes where you get the privilege of getting shit stomped as a peasant 2 to 3 times before fighting over a bridge that defends water so shallow anyone could just walk through it anyway. The map, it moves through several stages of boring until eventually getting into a town where you can throw nobles out of a window. which is probably the only redeeming part of the map. This was classic Torn Banner creativity, making a unique and original objective, and then the map, it just ends. It just feels super short in comparison to the standard, and the quality, it seems low too. Why not have that drunken noble Agathian VIP who has to escape the city and move super slow, and you gotta protect him and get him out the front gates or something? That would be a pretty cool VIP. The most enjoyable part of the map to me was the peasant sickle when the map released, which was just dumb broken and hilariously fast, and that was quickly removed. Personally, I saw no reason to remove them, as most of the sickles were out of play within a minute or two anyway, so it was just a fast, good time. We also got the heavy cavalry sword as a new weapon, and this to me rivals the rapier for top post-release weapon addition to the game. The heavy cavalry sword, it just felt super balanced on release as a quality but not overpowered weapon. It's a one-hander with reach and less speed than the other. It created a unique playstyle that we haven't gotten from the game before, where you can abuse distance with a shield, and you can rely on slower swing manipulation with a one-handed weapon, as opposed to the normal one-hand fast. And while the cavalry sword does have a gimmicky charge on the horses, no one plays horses anyway, so this gimmick is just a nothing burger, but overall the weapon was a great addition to the game. Now, patch 2.8 did come with a ton of combat changes. I'm not going to get into them one by one, but what they did basically was make the parry box massive, meaning it's harder to land on enemies. Blocking with one side and their butt became more prevalent during this patch, and it definitely made combat feel worse. Honestly, I think this change was only made for the PSN noobs, but there's nothing a dev can do to stop noobs from getting bopped, so why make the game worse? I think it was a bad change. Overall, the patch, it delivered a huge win with crossplay, but massively under-delivered on the map and the combat. Now, in July, we finally got an announcement on patch 2.9, the Reclamation of Moncrux. We'd be getting a new map, a new weapon, the Siege Crossbow, a new battle pass, and some combat changes. And then we're going to get 2 limited-time modes in the Jousting and the Last Peasant Standing mode. Now, we know those modes did get delayed pretty significantly. And now this update, it was supposed to drop in August, but we all know what happened here. August, it lasted for a really long time. Torn Banner couldn't get the patch past console verification, and we ended up getting it in November. And not only was patch 2.9 delayed, but this pushed back patch 2.10, where we were promised an absolutely epic team objective map till 2024. So yeah, we got a total of 2 updates for 2023, which in my opinion is not acceptable. I think 1 update per season sounds pretty fair for a total of 4. So now let's talk about that content that we waited for months and months for. The Reclamation of Moncrux, point blank, the map, it's just not it. Now let's start with a positive. The map, it looks good. The environment, the attention to detail. The fortress looks like something you'd see in the movie Kingdom of Heaven. If you haven't seen that, get the director's cut. It's way better. But after the visuals, the good things, they just stop. The map, once again, it's really short. And the devs tried to disguise this by giving the defense a really long time to defend on each objective. This map, it can be finished in only a couple of minutes by an absolute Chad offense. But it's actually pretty heavily favored towards the defense, so usually you'll see a 0.1 defense win. Take all the bad things of Chivalry, fighting on uneven terrain that just ruins hit detection, getting stuck on hills and rocks any adult could walk over, and having to run with a petard at 7 ballistas, and welcome to 0.1 of Moncrux. The map, it just feels well below the standards set at release, or with updates like Galen Court or Aberfell. It feels a VIP or main character short, and it lacks any form of original objectives that Torn Banner is known for. The only thing I can really say is it's better than Bridgetown, but honestly, I just leave the server whenever either of those maps comes up. Now, for a weapon, we have the Siege Crossbow, a weapon that's been in the game files for 2 years, a weapon I have zero interest in ever using, and also a weapon that worked in the test server for the patch, but has gone over a month now of not working as intended. The Siege Bow, it's meant to be used to take out siege equipment and deployables, but for some reason, it doesn't work anymore, making it just a worse crossbow. I question how many players really wanted new archery weapons to begin with, but this just seems like a huge bust at this point, especially since the shit doesn't even work. Now, for the combat changes in 2.10, we basically just took all the combat changes from patch 2.9 and reverted them. Patch 2.9, it made the combat feel worse. The combat is feeling, really good right now. Why we need to make those changes that no one asked for, I don't know, but at least we're in a good place now. So let's just Reader's Digest what we got this year. I'd say we got one legitimate weapon, the Heavy Cavalry Sword. We can't count the other. It doesn't work. We got 2 maps, and they are of nothing close to impressive scale. In fact, I'd say they lacked in scale significantly. A few battle passes that had some nice cosmetics, but I don't think that many players really care about the battle pass. And I forgot to mention the multiple free-for-all maps we were promised. We only actually got one, and it's not a new map. It's actually the most hated map in the game, Desert, and they just made the map light. So I don't consider this getting a new map. From a content standard, I would say 2023 was the worst year we've had since Chivalry 2's release. The content, it just did not match previous standards set forth by Torn Banner. In fact, if you just removed the 2 new maps from the game, I think the game would be better. That's not good. I think the biggest win here is that we got crossplay in its true form, and it's mostly working. Now, I think the devs, they've seen some of the feedback this year because they've teased the newest map as being absolutely grand in scale, and I hope this comes out early in 2024, and it leads us into a solid year of Chivalry 2. Let me know down below what feature or what content you want added into the game in the year 2024. For me, it's flail or bust. And if you enjoyed the video, again, consider subscribing.